Ahum Banjarangara Padma Sadarda 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 Banzarangara Padma Sadarda Ahom 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 Banzarangara Padma Sadarda ahum banjarangara padmasadarda 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 ahum banjarangara Banjarangar Padmasadardha Ahom Banjarangar Padmasadardha Ahom Banjarangar Padmasadardha Ahom Banjarangar Padmasadardha Om Banjarangar Padmasadardha Ahom 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 Banjarangar Padmasadardha ahum banzarangara padma sadarda 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 ahum banzarangara padma sadardo. Ahum Banjarangara 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 Padma Sadardo. Ahum Banjarangar Padma Sadarda Ahom 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 Banjarangar Padma Sadarda ahum banjarangara 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 Padmasada
Om Sambara Sambara Bamana Saramaha Zambaba Hom Palazoha Om Sambara Sambara Bamana Saramaha Zambaba Hom Palazoha Om Sambara Sambara Bamana Saramaha Zambaba Hom Palazoha Om Nanda Nam Taram Jananda Bab Tashib Jobji Jana Jipaya Sanje Chuda Gimdan Papa Sokan Lab Shagam Salab Dagjagab Tashi Shodumi Yalapa Salaftan Tun Divergon Shamba Jawala Geta Hualatamba Kanla Gomba Jachire Topa Janan Hambur Taram Hagatata Hualatan Simjan Tamja Largon Tapa Huala Yatsaman Zalapa Sarabata Huada Tim Sansaman Tubi Tashi Hualimpi the Wab Devara Shagba Jalab Shagam Salalon Jan Huala Jona Huardana Durjin Zanam Shere Zawa Gumbu Shamba Huala Saya Nyambo Japan Bere Selenam Ke Nyambo Pam Chaga Kandab Zan Apala Durji Parkara La Shandan Urva Dawa Radha Nyamaya Shagam Sanan Lagnam Jashi Huala Jim Chagab Shanchib Senhua Jalab Shagam Salalor in Chena Dimcho Tashi Sertia Nyam Dom Jom Zan Yel On Kamala Nyan Chaga Tondo Panto Hualavi Manaba Jaram Sana Wam Diram Corridor Stir in Chena Damcho Jalajib Shagam Sanan Chanam Shote Jarawa Chucham Deep Jedama Galsong O Jambi Hualapi the Verb Tashi Ham Jalab Shagam Salalo Samba Chimbo Dimjo Jedmid the Verb Danda Jalabu Yanam Gorotom Pagje Boda Lawami Mabzanam Dudin Harzim Corridor Tantashalat Donton Durjim Chanamba Relative Churtin Jansanam Zanas Hasamanis Gilam Tashi Bin Jalam Shagam Salalob Dagajaga Dandarim Shava Sumba Lab Gartani Ver Seva Kanjanim Dotun Hualimpia Samtun Yabjan and Tashib de Lara Pansam Sobera Shanakan and Dalhami Yom Shalam Chura Muramagan and Chanjalazin Abza So Jib Jib Jalabi Mulam Lib Shavi Kanam Zam to the Burton and G Zijeraji Namora Najaya Namo Bangawati Bandar Sarata Mardana Tangataya Arahati Samyak Sampataya Taliata Banzirim Banzirim Mahambandir Mahadin Bandir Mahabayam Bandir Mahabuddha Zatam Bandir Mahabuddha Mantropa Santamana Banzir Sarvakarma Warana Bishudana Banzir Suhana Morana Jaya Namo Bangawati Bandar Sarata Mardana Tangataya Arahati Samyak Sampataya Taliata Banzirim Banzirim Mahambandir Mahadin Bandir Mahabayam Bandir Mahabuddha Zatam Bandir Mahabuddha Mantropa Santamana Banzir Sarvakarma Warana Pishudanam Bandir Suhana Murana Jaya Namo Bangawati Bandar Sarata Mardana Tangataya Arahate Samyak Sampataya Taliata Banzirim Banzirim Mahambandir Mahadin Bandir Mahabayam Bandir Mahabuddha Zata Bandir Mahabuddha Mantropa Santamana Bandir Sarvakarma Warana Pishudanam Bandir Suhai Malisim Janan Kananja Gonam Cheraja Dalade Hom Jimam Zadam Jum Zadalha Ngunam Malim Chub Janam Kinan Cherapa Chumadanam Kurim Jinindar Shansai Zulay Dadam Lam Tim Zim Shir Nyala Jazam Charam Tayin Chudam Churabab Dagab Jadaba Tejadam Chumadan Jisai Zulay Bagabam Jam Hola Junara Kirpala Shagam Zalay chanya da sa tagam shobji jitene na ti sama shaba ma yo sangi kan da ke ma le de da tham chala la le da nga ya la da mi shobje o Zambub Shirba Mulam Dubdagi Jarva Tamchada Yelke Monsamanda Shanga Dalanyala Lera Talpai Jarva Kalna Ratab Shamsalalo Tana Dalanyala Sardi Nama Sardi Titya Winam Jipata Tetara Chuja Nama Malipa Tamchada Jarva Taki Kamvaramo Tetagam Yapa Mazala Jamso Nama Yanji Yanlag Jam Sudakanji Jarva Kanji Yundan Rabjada Jam Devara Shagba Tamchada Dakiptut Metogatam Ban Changva Tamba Saranyan Nandam Shipa Dim Choda Maramim Chodam Dipu Tambayi Jarva Teta Lanam Chubirja Nabza Tamba Nam Tantum Chogadam Shima Paramara Banyambata Kodapa Chalapara Pagapam Chogananji Jarva Teta Lanam Chubirja Churpaganam Ramila Jachiva Teta Jarva Tamchadalayamu Zambo Shula Talapuk Tutaki Jarva Kalam Shamsadam Chubirja Dola Chagazir Dante Me Wangina Litanga Dante Vjana Yachija The Pav the Cape Jipam Chimchipa Teta Tamjada the Case Osrupshak Shokchi Jarava can dance on Jiji Ranjitan Dam Love Dam Love Dam Joy can James on the Megalayan Teta can Jijis of the Yera Kanam Shok Jim Jitin Drunmanam Shanjiverim Better Sanji Majavni Gombo Teta Daki Tamchadalam Kurlo Blana Milpam Kurvarevkal Yangananda Tunakam Jala Teta Lam Duakan Lapam Shang Devapshir Janga Dalanyalab Jiparaya Daki Talamor of Jerv Survavja Shamsadavatam Chucham Shabata Jisu Yeram Karajan Survaya Giwa Chonzala Daki Chapsagapa Tamchada Dakim Shanchib Shirv Shab Janab Jipa Sanji Chum Dandi Tamchada Sabjalani Shanchib Senhua Chimbunam Lama Durjim Zamba Chimbunam Dalar Gonsa Solam Shanchib Nyamburum Jiji Wara Sanji Namla Jabzumch Chudam Shanchib Senhua Sola Devjana Jabzumch Shanchib Nyamburum Jiji Wara Sanji Namla Jabzumch Chudam Shanchib Senhua Sola Devjana Jabzumch Shanchib Nyamburum Jiji Wara Sanji Namla Jabzumch Chudam Shanchib Senhua Sola Devjana Jabzumch Chaktar Unjib Deshagim Shanchib Tinab Jelpata Shanchib Senhuim Tapala Tetaram Janani Patar Divjan Dola Pandunda Shanchib Simnab Jebjashon Divjan Danam Tapala Rembav Jandab Laparavja Chatarangonji Deshavijim Shanchib Tinam Jelpatam Shanchib Senhuim Tapala Tetaram Janani Patar Divjan Dola Pandunda Shanchib Simnab Jebjashon Divjan Danam Tapala Rambav Jandab Laparavja Chatarangonji Deshavijim Shanchib Tinam Jelpatam Tetaram Janani Patar Divjan Dola Pandunda Shanchib Simnab Jebjashon Divjan Danam Lapala Rambav Jandab Lava Baravja Dandi Dazim Diva Yudamay Talbalag Paratum Tera Sarji Research Sarji Tajirato Tanav Daki Chane Jari Tam Tambale Samante Jumaran Samburim Dala Nyoparam Jarate Tarapsha long we shelter Pambuli, Chatter, Rinchin, and Yelaba, Daves and Jesu, 13 names, Shanjibim of Dalashi. Ducky, they ram your bath, and Jada Jeff, Shangaram, do have they shaken Yelatan. What of the lamb, Jundu, Wuzan and Jill, Hadan, Haman, Lasso, Gaverji. Shanjibim, Choram, Boche, Marchi, Banamate, Jerachi, Stiban, Yamban, me Parayang, Gone, Condom, Heversho. Shanchibel sim dam em derajam shanchibel shul love jorvada sanji namji om zom sham darji le nam pavarasho shanchibel sim wan namji nam dutun tila gon drbasho gumbo in kan gomba sim janan amlan tim jirasho sim chanan tham jalab de ta danjirji ngandu tham jada ta to varasho Saint Wagan, the Sarvjiba, the Dagaganji, Molamam Japarasho, Mahosha, the Jinabara, Wanga, Bob John, the Tonzuru, Yeshirka, Macha Devdan, Bamiram, Jenny, Durgenia, Mana, Chimbo, Chirkano, am Tai, Durjijum, Jitina, Wamji, Jijazi, Bamajerabum, Gondinga, Wamjir, under the Zana, once in the Heraka. Sangwai is in Bandra, them Chondor Budget Pub, the Chin and Tail. My nature game, Torip Jetaman, Chotam Jade, Wamsi, de Tonker, Wamzala Durji, Wawanda Kids, Nantom Yamba Chimbung, Anyata, Durji, Karchi, Trasamayo, Government Song of Jetting, Kamsamangi, was there a Marbum Kundi, online Chabaji, Tom Chedayosha, the Perishit, Durji Chakabach, and Butijina, Nami Hudrum, the game Chotodoja, Durji Chakabach. Chimbui, not to the Deva Chimburum Shilepa, Tai Jim to the Davoro Karachanan, the Jikon Sheva, Jimship, Ramjam Sasamawangal, Hadzola, Kibi, Zurvan, Dips of Shinjilo, Chotanan, the game Watata, told me the one that Jilbun, Zolo, Ma, Honsha, the Chin, Barba, Wango, Pop Janta, they don't so sort of Shirka, Machaka Divdan, by me, Ramjani, Durgenia Mana, Chimbo, Shurka, now I'm tired, Durjum, Jitan, Wamsi, Jichazi, Param, Jerbum, Kundinga, Wam, Jiran, not the Zana, once in the Heraka, Sawan Yesim, but the Vada, them Chondo, the Budget above the Chin and Tail, Manly, Gay, Elam Toru, Shedeman, Chotam Shadi, Wamsi, de Tonka, Wamsala Durje, Wawanda, so not only by Chimbong, Anelata, Durje, Kartista, Samayo, Government of Jetting comes among all the Zaramarbum Kundi, all like Chapati, Tom Chedayosha, the Perishit, Durje Chakabach, and Butijina, Nami Hudrum, the game Chotodoja, Durje Chakabach, and Bui, and after the Deva Chimburum Shedapan, Tai Jim to the Tavaro, Karachan, and Tarji Conversiva, Zimzip, Ramjam Sasamawangal, Hazola, Gibi, Zuram, Dips of Shinjilo, Chotanang Hudrum, the game Pantata, told me the one dips at Bungu, Traversolo, Honsha, the Chin and Barava, Wanga, Bob Janda, they don't so sort of pay a circa. Amiram Jenny, Durgenia Mana, Chimbo, Churkano, I'm Tai, Durjum, Jitan, Wamsi, Jichazi, Paramajerabum, Kundinga, Wam, Jitan, under the Zana, once in Heraka, Sawai is in Badrawara, them John Dollar Budget above the Chin and Tere, Mandy, Jirgi, and Tori, Chetama, Chotam Saji, Wamsi, de Tonker, Wamzala Durji, Wawanda Kids, and Antom Yamba Chimbung, and Yelata, Durji, Karchitra Samayo, Government of Jetting. Comes among all the Zaramarbum Kundi, all like Chabatriji, Tom Chedayosha, the Perishit, Durje Chakabach, and Butijina, Nami Hudrum, the game Chotodoja, Durji Chakabach, Chimbui, and after the Deva Chimburum Shilepa, Tai Jim to the Tavaro, Karachan, and the Jicom of Shiva, Jimzip, Ramjam Sasamawangal, Hatzola, Gibi, Zulu, and Dips of Shinjilo, Chotanang Hudrum, the game Quantata, told me the one that Shedabung, Solo. Orjana Yeljan of Shansam, Pamakazar, Dombola, Yamsanam Jogan, Javerni, Padam, Johnny, Jisa, Takam Kortam, Kandu, Mambo, Korachiji, Jisa, Dr. Chief Shinji, Love Shira Shasa, so Gura Patamas, the 这了本个人参加了当，这不人真情不觉得相思你我不觉得当，这心怪不得他走了，所有人的不心结了不是那上面玩车所了300也不是这白当，吃当他那么知不知道这了本个人参加了当，这不人真情不觉得相思你我不觉得。他走了，所有人的不心结了不是那上面玩车所了300也不是这白当，吃当他们知不知道这了本个人参加当，这不人真情不觉得相思你我不觉得，这心怪不得他走了，所有人的不心结了不是那上面玩车所了300也不是这白当，吃当他们知不知道这了本个人参加当，这不人真情不觉得相思你我不觉得，这心怪不得他走了，所有人的不心结了不是那上面玩车所了300也不是这白当，吃当他们知不知道这了本个人参加当，这不人真情不觉得相思你我不觉得。山上上面玩车做了300也不是这白的，朝当他们知不知道这都本个人参加当，这不人真情不觉得相思你我不觉得，这心怪不得走了，所有人的不心结了不是那上面玩车做了300也不是这白的，朝当他们知不知道这本个人参加当，这不人真情不觉得相思你我不觉得，这心怪不得走了，所有人的不心结了不是那上面玩车做300也不是这白的，朝当他们知不知道这都本个人参加当，这不人真情不觉得。相思你我不觉得，这心怪不得他走了，所有人的不心结了不是那上面玩车说了300也不是这白的，吃当他那么我这玩走了，前来都是讲所有人的本体，但是刚才你不是些个事。那大个了碰他做了什么的，去当这心皮儿咋了都说了，见面了当半年了当点钟个，那么给米了送几见面吃了，让的那南客人就只能讲出为人家那上吃半年的晚上，说白聪明的小姐上给那谁见到这能参到会不是了的，去过什么什么都是记得中。是个意思，那是个家乐家乡，是个有那娘，是个不得事，红色的那么是节日的日节的花的马儿吧。也是我是这边快阳家不你我这边的你不能吃这说，拍个错点从口里用口里让，真把咱们这人他你哩，咱知道台湾吃花花的走路啊。جب کنن دیپ دغنیل چیم برق سال نیازین چیم بخت دننی میشم زونی مال من چیم بغم جدب برکر ترم غصم تو شرمر دغش تو بدیجی جلب شغم سلالو دغ جن گوسم گی صولم شرب جی کنم زام شرب چند مینیم بلا تغمل نفس غدی تو ملی بانیانیم جرب جغبو سوسرم شغ so so ji wo ge wan ti sam sa la ji sa ye rang mo zab ja ja chin chu jim kur lo salam shab jir jam chal param kur ta sol chon nam kar ta wi ye shir ka ti sam pum jir me param sig mo la je dav shi na ngor chen ji ga sar tun ja jar ba zir ka ta ta na waram zod da ka ti sam sa pa ge so jim kha che ban ro kan la phan la ta chu ji jalbo tak par ni shara jan chu ji jalwe kom phan tho par shog dag ja ni mim ro am gum mil na ma thi jin tak par zong va kwa chana le Giang dan dem der ren chen nam sam je na wa jen ye le je jin chen le nye le de shara jam che go song me le ji par ye de ji dar bi ga nya ni so len de wa na ngon je tam je chin bo mam nye le war shang che va war de thi ji jim zan nam zo de sa nam je de ba da zom li pe chen ji tom bur ka le ye shin ji wo zra na zog ba na wan chin bu dag dang sim chen nan tham che Rabba tham jalab salajan thakba chimbo lam je yondan salab janda jidi sharmar dogba sanambar samlam lam tumba chumdan di tibjana shagba da chumba ya da bar zoba sanjin khwar jaram shagjan tabalam shagin salam chudur jabzam shawam lam tumba chumdan di tibjana shagba da chumba ya da bar zoba sanjin khwar jaram shagjan tabalam shagin salam chudur jabzam shawam lam lam stum ba chum dan di di jna shag ba da chum ba ya da bar do ba sa ji war jer shag ja da ba lam shag im salam chu do jab zam che wam lam stum ba chum dan di di jna shag ba da chum ba ya da bar do ba sa ji war jer shag ja da ba lam shag im salam chu do jab zam che Divjana Shagbada Jumbaya da Paradopa Sanji Quarjerva Shagda da Bala Shagam Salam Chudur Jabsam Chawam Lam Stumba Chumdandi Divjana Shagbada Jumbaya da Paradopa Sanji Quarjerva Shagda da Bala Shagam Salam Chudur Jabsam Chawam Lam Stumba Chumdandi Divjana Shagbada Jumbaya da Paradopa Sanji Quarjerva Shagda da Bala Shagam Salam Chudur Jabsam Chawam Tariyadaw Mani Mani Mahamad Manaizo Tareto Mani Mani Mahamanaizo 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 Ha Mani Mani Mahamanaizo Mani Mani Ma Mani Mani Mahamanaizo Mani Mani Mahamanaizo Mani Mani Mahamanaizo Ha Devara Shagba Chirka Chandra Dam Kurdan Kutsi Sata Shankamanda Chirjim Sam Chagab Zambu Chandra Tendra Kunrab Dagso Jirvara Sho Nami Saravata Tangada Bayom Bakum Bakambe Saravata Kangade Saparana Aman Gangana Kanso Hai Jim Dotana Gandra Dam Ham Tawachi Reason by me Jim to the Sonson and Jet Norva Dam the Quadrant Ponyam James Olan Jodo some Don Hundred Jim Dotana Gandra Dam Ham Tawachi Reason by me Jim to the Sonson and Jet Norva Dam the Quadrant Ponyam James Olan Jodo some Don Hundred Jim Dotana Gandra Dam Ham Tawachi Reason by me Jim to the Sonson and Jet Norva Dam the Quadrant Ponyam James Olan Jodo some Don Hundred Gandav Samo Yeshi Rubersan, Yanti Gelmo Ekanzatem, Yeshi Lidang Jitin Mamoto, Solon Chetam Jeremim Chenlim Zut, Hon Gandav Samo Yeshi Rubersan, Yanti Gelmo Ekanzatem, Yeshi Lidang Jitin Mamoto, Solon Chetam Jeremim Chenlim Zut, Hon Gandav Samo Yeshi Rubersan, Yanti Gelmo Ekanzatem, Yeshi Lidang Jitin Mamoto, Solon Chetam Jeremim Chenlim Zut. Trong trong chăm chỉ chém bùa ra trở về nam chỉ đồ mầm chờ chờ đó giá đa chỉ cái trở về tiếp chỉ niệm chim số lần chờ tâm chờ niệm chờ niệm chờ sợ trong trong chăm chỉ chém bùa ra trở về nam chỉ đồ mầm chờ chờ đó giá đa chỉ cái trở về tiếp chỉ niệm chim số lần chờ tâm chờ niệm chờ niệm chờ sợ trong trong chăm chỉ chém bùa ra trở về nam chỉ đồ mầm chờ chờ đó giá đa chỉ cái trở về tiếp chỉ niệm chim số lần chờ tâm chờ niệm chờ niệm chờ Dam Jana Jewa Chambu Dinim Zad, Didi Daman Zangam Pony, so Capture some Jatiki, so Dam Jim, so Lam Chetam Janim Chanim Zud, Hoy Dam Jana Jewa Chambu Dinim Zalam, Didi Daman Zangam Pony. Solam Chetam Janim Chanim Zud, Hoy Dam Jana Jewa Chambu Dinim Zalam, Didi Daman Zangam Pony, so Capture some Jatiki, so Dam Jim, so Lam Chetam Janim Chanim Zud. Pamaganga Quanyanam Tawachi, Chips and the Bajana Boy only wait and my book. I couldn't depend Jim, Solan Chetam Janim Chanim Zud. Pamaganga Quanyanam Tawachi, Chips and the Bajana Boy only wait. My book I couldn't depend Jim, Solan Chetam Janim Chanim Zud. Pamaganga Quanyanam Tawachi, Chips and the Bajana Boy only wait. My book I couldn't depend Jim, Solan Chetam Janim Chanim Zud. Con gì dân trăm bát dâm chi giảm đợt bang ở trước tế và rầm ra bài chur cho yếp dân nô rơ chân nam chi đặc sam tơ mani nherem jabem zod am koron đi chukan kadari bang ramda mam gage yesi olangi long over wardanam jambu durji la namba chapchi yep jana nor banyan Karak salam zim zam banja ta ye chin chum chal shagdi ral jal nam Jabni chal chong ol zar mi dam cho Rana tag janda lam mir salai ni chen wo ser ni jang kam san jam hwal thi jeb shan lab yed la shman ji me de ban so jabala solorwa der to pam pover psen ji love ni chinner wo ser ni jang kam san jam wale thi jeb shan love yed Jabala solorwa dever gom jeder to bam puber shen ji globo ni chinner wo ser ni jang kam san jam hwal thi jeb shan lab yed la shman ji yed ban thoy jabala solorwa dever gom jeder to bam pover psen ji golob dharna lama olangi thiler cherang psewani janya wintham Jalakan yeshi jim dim lamada Kalawan nyambub shalab toba parasamam Jeva kanta yang tagav lama tam jemedan chuje wala lom shudja sadang lam je yondan rabzo durjim chang gomba nyer thob shoy jumdan den gombam jang wala yang shagam zalalo ganga lo judam jam jaranya taranam tarab sadavi Chenira dongan jab jam zipsirin yilki tikar lawan zan Ganta jab zonjar mare mam tanab dingar chizarwa Dotsoga ganla wab jim tarzi yalla jiji ayantana som Diktar chidrogam nyamo nyalong li ji chogdogam zadacha Mare mam sadadiv ngadanya gacham nira chum zadarachanam Doni takjang sab jim tarsu yundan li zoga jeti tawushka Chitang Jenny Gentry Daglo Mansalam Jamwala Yanland Marabazanad Umara bazanado, 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 Umara bazanado. Umara bazanada Zedanan Jerjim Jeraba What is Rajim Daglo Tamegim Barab Salani Kadam Damju Jonli Tobaya Lojur Pub Nawa Jelada Solo.
First off, I would like to address the schedule regarding to the retreat over here in Larungar. First of all, the retreat will begin on October 29th, and the duration of the retreat is 17 days. Out of the 17 days, every 5 days are the personal, in every 5 days there's the group meditation retreat. So we will have 5 days of personal retreat and then 1 day of group retreat, and then repeat such cycle. And in total, we'll have 15 days of personal retreat and 3 group meditation retreat. And in terms of the daily schedule, the schedule goes as Lama Achung's direction in the commentary and amendment to the Words of My Perfect Teacher teachings. So in the morning from 6 to 8, that's the first session of practice, and from 8 to 10, that is the breakfast time, and the requirement schedules, even though between 8 and 10 it's the free time for you to use, but you cannot go outside and you cannot talk and so on. And the second session goes between 10 to 12, and then the third session is 4 to 6 p.m. You can use such time between 12 to 4, that is between sessions, to practice prostration and read and chant and so on. And then after 6 p.m., you can then practice the protector practice, or do your smoke practice, the smoke offering practice. And then the next session goes from 8 to 10. So that's the personal meditation session again. So those are the 4 sessions in a day. In terms of the group meditation session, it goes between 3 p.m. And in the morning, we will then chant the mantra and the name of Amitabha together. And in the afternoon, we will have this group meditation session, and we will then chant the aspiration to Sukhavati by Chögyam Rinpoche. We'll practice 1 hour in group practice, group meditation practice. So that's the requirement and schedule of this year's retreat. And I hope that you should be prepared. On the day of group practice, we will then have the lunch arranged for everyone. And other than that day, you should stay at home and then you should practice according to the sessions. You should then prepare the food and you should prepare all the provisions that you need for such a period of time. Also, in the Sangha, we prepared something for everyone as well to eat during the retreat time. For people who had not practiced or finished the 1 million chantings of the name of Amitabha, then you should practice this. And there are people who have finished this. You can then practice according to the Tibetan version, or you can practice or read about the merit of the Sukhavati, the Pure Land of the West, and make the aspiration to be reborn in the Pure Land of Sukhavati. According to Phuntsukul Rinpoche's prediction, this is our connection to the Sukhavati. Therefore, we should make such aspiration. We can practice according to the teachings given before, and we can practice Abang Bodhicitta and all other practices. And you should make the aspiration to be reborn in Sukhavati. I hope that the Khenpos and Khenmos in our class should use at least one class, or at least use part of the class to give the teaching of the 4 causes to be reborn in the Sukhavati Pure Land. Since we still have 1 week of time before the actual retreat practice, then I think the Khenpos and Khenmos should prepare your lesson plannings for the following week accordingly. At least you should give 1 class to your the participants, or you can give the teaching based on the teachings, the meditation, the supplication, or the 3 sutras of Sukhavati, or 5 sutras of Sukhavati, or the visualization, as well as the retreat practice. So any of those related information, unless there are people who are gravely ill and who don't really have lots of time to go, and who really need the time to then go to hospital. Other than these group of people who have these special cases, then the rest of you should prepare for the retreat. Your retreat practice. Larungar is a place where we propagate the teaching, the doctrine of the Dharma, of the Buddha, as well as the realization of the Buddha, or of the correct Dharma. And when it comes to the doctrine, then it is listening and studying and contemplation. But when it comes to the realization aspect of the Dharma, then you have to engage in your personal practice. And in order to fit into those 2 kinds of callings of our academy, then we need to we need to dedicate a specific time to the study of Vajrayana teaching and to the retreat. I think we also need to put some of the Vajrayana teachings in the exam as well, especially nowadays. Every class is giving the teaching of the Vajrayana teaching. So the doctrine aspect, we constantly study and contemplate, and in terms of realization, that we need to engage in personal practice. So I hope people, on the day of descending of the Buddha from heaven, I think it is best to practice at home in retreat. So people who are not here, at least you can practice for 7 days or 5 days or at least 3 days at home. That's the pre-class announcement.
那么今天呢，我们讲的那个《论语》啊。
Today our class is on the Analects of
这个论语呢
Confucius.
今年就2019年的话，那也是
In fact, today's class is the last class for the year of 2019 for the Analects of the Confucius. And I'm not sure when the next class would be, but I think it would be next year around February or March, if impermanence doesn't dawn on me. Maybe we will have class in December again, but I'm not sure. But I don't think I will be giving the teachings of our regular classes, such as Shurangama Sutra or the Analects of Confucius and all of those kind of classes. But it's not completely settled yet, so I'm not sure yet. But I'll make announcements accordingly. Now let's look at the second chapter, the second book. The second book, 2.1, it says that the master. Over here, the book 2 in the Chinese version, it has a title, and the title is it is Zheng, which means to rule or to correct oneself. According to Master Ouyi's commentary, he said that it means to benefit self and others. Or it could mean that to correct oneself. It is similar to that character as well in Chinese. Over here, it says that it is how leader of country should rule the country and should lead by example to guide the whole society. This is another way of understanding this. So the connection of Zheng, which means to rule, is somewhat connected to the so-called politics, but the word politics is rather a later vocabulary. It is spoken from the perspective of the Chinese letter Zheng and the word of politics in Chinese. Our current society, our current politics, which we define politics nowadays, is that how the kinds of actions and activities that is used to rule the society. A method. And such kind of method is called politics. Back then, however, it also means to rule, but such kind of method is rather a little bit different. Let's look at how we can understand that ruling. And 2.1, book 2.1, it says that the master said, to rule by virtue is like the way the North Star rules. According to its literary translation, it means that a leader of the country should lead the country with virtue. And to use an analogy to explain it further is that the North Star, it is just like the North Star. It stays in its place with all the other stars revolving around it and paying court to it. It means, as a statesman, he should use his virtue. He should have a great sense of integrity as a person, and outstanding virtue, and in such a way, his people would then support him and paying respect to him, just as how Confucius said that the one. Just as how Mencius said that the one who gain the veneration of the people would gain the power to lead the country, authority to lead the country. If a leader were to lead the country with violence, then all the people would go up against them. So this is the analogy over here. Just as how a North Star stand in its place, and all the other stars revolve around it. That's the ancient understanding of the North Star. In Tibet, we usually say that I vow to North Star is to express one's resolution to make a vow. But the North Star is not unmoving. It does move. But this kind of moving is different than the other stars. And compared to the other stars, the North Star is rather quite stable at its place. According to the modern science, all the stars would revolve. In the north, there's the Big Dipper. And from the tip of the Big Dipper, there is one bright star, and then that is the North Star. Rather adjacent to it, it's close to the tip of the Big Dipper, that is the North Star. So there are people who who are interested in astrology and so forth. They're very familiar with these kind of stars. In Tibet, in fact, since we didn't have any watch, so at night we would then look at the stars while watching the yaks. And because we don't know the time, then we would look at the stars. And what I notice is that whenever the North Star goes behind the mountains, then it's almost time for morning. Also, we look at the Venus, the morning star. Whenever the morning star rises, I know that the day is no longer far away. When I was young, I would then look at the stars at night to judge the time, and during the day, I would look at the shadow that's cast on the ground to determine the time. And because I need to then determine what is the best time to return home after herding all the yaks out. So I have to be very accurate with when the sun will set. So I have to then take all the yaks to the meadows on the outside, to the place that's a little bit farther away, and then I would look at the shadow of the trees or mountains, and then I would know what is the best time to return, so that it would be the perfect time right before the sun sets. But sometimes when it's cloudy, it's very difficult to judge based on the shadows. Therefore, I would judge based on how hungry I am, and sometimes I would judge it by how many mantras I've recited. At that time, since I cannot see the sun because it's cloudy and I don't have a watch, but I have to have a sense of time. Therefore, I have to use the number of chanting mantras as my reference point. I think young people nowadays, when they hear such kind of a story, they feel that I'm just dream talking. This is not possible. But I think at the time when we didn't have watch or any modern technologies, we would use the natural resources to determine the time as a reference point for me to judge the time. So when one is lost at night, they would use the Big Dipper as their guidance. And there are the ones who are very familiar with astrology, the farmers and the seniors. They can just look at the evening stars. They would know that, this year is going to rain a lot. Or sometimes they can look at the clouds and they would know that because of the shape and the color of the clouds, they would know tonight is going to rain or tomorrow is going to rain or so on. And sometimes they can look at different shapes of clouds on the northern direction. They would know that what would happen the year after. So they have all kinds of ways of predicting. Back in 1977, in Luhuo, that is my hometown, we had this biggest earthquake, and before the earthquake, lots of the seniors would tell us, and they would worry, saying that next year, I think there's some disaster would happen next year, because look at the clouds at the north, the shape is very curvy. And at that time, I thought, well, this must be boasting, because how can they tell that there will be disaster simply by looking at the clouds, especially it's disaster that happened next year? And it indeed happened. The next year, there was a big earthquake, and many people died because of that. So I think sometimes it is not complete science, but on the other hand, it is very scientific. It could predict what would happen next year because of the changes of the seasons, the changes of the clouds, the changes of the atmosphere, and so on. They would be able to, because they are very much connected to the nature, therefore they can then predict what would happen later. So for those of you who are university students, maybe you would look down upon those farmers and so on. But yes, in terms of your knowledge, you probably have a bigger span of knowledge spectrum. But they also acquired knowledge that you don't understand. So it is not right to look down on them. Rather, you should be quite humble. Anyhow, then it says that the people if the statesman is rather quite violent and have lots of aggression, then the kind of fear that brought by such kind of a leader would be quite horrifying to his citizens. As it is said in the sutra taught by the Buddha and Nirgrantha, it says that if the king performs evil deeds, his hatred will blind him to see things clearly. Thus, his every action frightens the people. Even his parents feel terrified of him.
甚至自己的父母子女的话呢，也是带来这种畏惧恐惧。
I think that's very true, because let it be a king of a country or a leader of a community, such kind of leader with lots of aggression and with lots of evil doings and evil thoughts, I think this kind of leader definitely brings lots of negativity to the group and the country. In fact, happiness and suffering, it is manipulated by people. It could be acted out of the intention of the people. And because of different kind of intention, different kind of actions, it could bring lots of doubts and fear fear of people. So let's look at so many different countries in this world and look at the fear that's brought by by the doings of their leaders. It's very clear. If the country's leader is rather very compassionate and very kind and have lots of wisdom, and then that kind of leader would bring security as well as happiness to his people. Sima Qian, who was a great historian in Chinese history, he said that the emperor, his benevolence was like that of heaven, and his wisdom that of a god. He spoke quite greatly of the previous emperor. He used many analogies to describe him. By his words of benevolence, by the caring actions, an emperor could really bring happiness and peace to his people. In the Chinese history, in the Chinese philosophy, there is this idea of non-action. In fact, as a leader, you don't really have to do a lot. What you need to do is just to be a kind and benevolent leader, and then in such a way you'll be able to bring such kind of teaching and atmosphere to your citizens, and therefore you don't really need to carry out lots of actions. And vice versa, not only you would bring vice versa, if as a leader you are not benevolent, not only you would bring lots of fear and insecurity to your people, you would bring lots of evil karma to yourself as well. If you were to have this kind of cause and conditions to lead a group of people, but at least when you have such a kind of merit to be this leader, what you should do is to guide and lead all the other people with benevolence and kindness. You should have this kind of mentality of serving others. This would be good. This would be really great. Rather, nowadays, I think what people do when they're in higher positions is that they feel very great about themselves and they would look down at others, especially the ones who never had any kind of status at the beginning and later on gain status. Later on, the changes are rather quite grave. At the beginning, maybe they're very easygoing, very caring, but once they attain a certain kind of social status, they became a completely different person. And if you were to behave in such a way, you won't be a good leader anymore. From the perspective of management, in fact, it is exactly as it says. The North Star brings natural authority, which gathers all the other stars, and other stars would surround it. Similarly, a leader is also like that. People could surround him, and people could have lots of faith and trust towards them. And such kind of people, probably because of their merit, they would be at such kind of position for a long period of time. And I've heard people who got selected to become a leader, they said that, thank you so much for your trust, and I will try my best to help and serve others and serve all of you. but it's very difficult to say. People could change.
然后，下面第二章的话呢，
Anyhow, the first one is really the philosophy of management that is taught by Confucius. And the second one, it is then
这个四呢，
the master said,
四境啊，就是
the 300 poems from the book of poetry could be summed up in a single phrase. They never swerve from the path.
3000道数啊，就是3000多个这种四啊，就是3000多个。
Within the book of poetry, there are over 3,000 poetries. But later on, Confucius then used his time to make the to re-edit or collect all those poems and edit them and categorize them into 300 poems. In fact, in the book of poetry, what it says is that the book of poetry is a historical book, you could say. The book lasted all. The book was then compiled all the way from the Xizhou Dynasty to about 500 years after. And in terms of geographic coverage, it covers all the way from the north to the southern part of China. The content that is included, it has the lifestyle, the vegetations, the animals, and the culture, and all different kind of customs at that time. So all the way through between north and south, and the duration lasted for about 500 to 600 years. And this book, rather than a complete written book, it was actually lots of poetry that's sung by people. And Confucius really enjoyed singing. In the book 7, Confucius stated that whenever other people sing a good song, he would later on harmonize or repeat that song with the person who sang it before. So over here it says, in the book of poetry, sums up in a single phrase. Especially the book of poetry, it has the descriptions of the historical events as well as all different aspects of life, culture, religion, and customs, and habitual patterns of the people at that time. But all of these that is included in the book of poetry could be summed up in a single phrase, in a very simple phrase, that is that they never swerve from the path. Over here, the number of 300 is not necessarily the specific number. The number 3 usually means a large number in the Chinese system of counting, or in terms of the literature use of the number 3.
那所有的300颂的这个归纳的意义是什么呢？就是我们的这个思想呢，就是千万不能有
And what does that mean?
这种倾斜啊，就是
What does this phrase mean? It means that our mind should be correct. Our mind should not swerve from the path. We should keep this pure mind. If the mind is correct, then the action would be correct, same as his speech, and all the things that he act or be would be correct.
但也有一些解释呢，就是它所谓的
There's
这个
other explanation as well. What it means is that the si, which is explained as contemplation or think over here, but in the other explanation, it shows that the si is just a model particle, and it doesn't really have any meaning in it. Therefore, the meaning of it is that the path should be straight. And when the path is straight, then the horse which run on this path would get to the goal without mistaking the direction.
无懈呢，就是也是这个，就是这是这个无懈，就是道路的意思。然后后面的这个沿着这个路而这个去的，这个马匹的话呢，也是沿着这个路走。那这样说的话呢，应该是比较正确的吧？就是因为按照这个后面的这个
I think this kind of explanation is very similar to the teaching that's given by the particular chapter of the book of poetry. And the teaching over here is to be of integrity and eradicate all the wrong views and wrong actions. We often talk about the wrong view, wrong knowledge, wrong actions. It is not a correct path. It is something that is very distorted. According to the 400 verses of Madhyamika, it says that you'd rather break your precept but you should not abandon the correct view. What it means is that even if you you're between the choices of abandoning the right view and abandoning the precept, you should choose abandoning your precept at that moment, because as long as you have the right view, you will have the opportunity to recover it. However, what our society has nowadays is very different than what is advocated over here. All the merchandise and the commercials and entertainment, I think those are really not of the correct path. Those are not of the diligence. The children nowadays, they grew up with lots of the influence of violence, and because of such kind of influence, it's very difficult for them to step onto the correct path. Especially for young people, they're not completely matured. If they were to watch the violence and they're immersed in this virtue world, they could get very much confused with the reality and with the virtual world. And I think that is why young people nowadays, they are not very much they cannot really differentiate what is real and what is virtue. Just as the movie of Inception. I think maybe I'm thinking too much. Maybe my teaching is not valued, but at least I am really concerned about the value that we're given to our next generation. I heard lots of young people, they are not even afraid of suicide because they grew up in their own world, and the world that they live in ever since they were young was a world that is infused in violence, that is that is given to them by the games and lots of media influence. Lots of merchants, people who want to get lots of attention, they would use all kinds of ways to attract them, and they would particularly create certain kinds of research to find what people are interested in, and they would tailor to such kind of interest without any integrity of guiding or cultivating a healthy generation. Rather, this kind of profit-driven injection of value is then completely accepted by the young people who do not have any judgment, who lacks in the judgment at this moment. And if they were completely accepted this kind of a value, then they are very much confused. They would get very much confused with their life, their value, and they don't even have any choice afterwards, because life is just like a one-way highway, and you cannot really turn back to go backwards, and that would be impossible, rather also very dangerous. And therefore, our education, our practice, we should only then step onto the correct path. Although sometimes the correct path may seem to be very slow and very treacherous, but at least you are stepping towards the correct direction. Just as the practitioners, maybe at the beginning they chose the wrong guru and the wrong practice, then if you're heading, then it's just like that you're heading towards the wrong direction. In Tibetan, our alphabet starts with Gakha Ganga, and if you were to start with Ga and start with that particular letter wrong, then you would start everything wrong. Just as in English alphabets, if you were to study A wrong, then the whole alphabet would be wrong as well. So you have to find the correct direction and follow the correct direction. I'm sure there will be obstacles, hardships, and there will be lots of difficulties along the way, but at least it's towards the correct direction. Unlike a smooth path of a wrong path, it may be smooth, but it would lead you to the wrong direction. So I think that is why Confucius said that to step on the correct path, to have the correct mindfulness, the correct action, correct mind, it's really important. Out of all the instructions of the Dharma, the most important is the right view. Without the right view, then the action, the practice, the conduct, then it's really nowhere to be found. Therefore, the most important is to step onto the right path. Next time when people ask you what's the key point of a book of poetry, you should answer the right view. If people don't recognize that, if people don't agree with you, you can say that that's what is taught by Confucius. And then when people ask you about the pith or the core of the 400 verses of Madhyamika, you could also say it's the right view, isn't it? So book 2.3. The master said, Confucius said, if you guide the people with ordinances and status and statuses and keep them in line with threats of punishment, they will try to stay out of trouble, but will have no sense of shame.
然后，如果他们这个犯错误的话，那就是以这个刑法来，就是欺人。
If you were to threaten them by punishment,
说是这些人民的话，那就是他可能会面对，就是不会犯罪，因为他们都害怕嘛。就是一个是首先是比较有这个强制性的一种政策。
If you were to then force punishment upon them, then they would try to stay out of trouble because they don't want to receive punishment. Maybe in such a way you could keep them without making any mistakes. However, they would have no sense of shame. Just as nowadays there are regulations that is made by the superiors. However, the people who work for them would often find the loopholes for them.
他虽然跟自己的可能良心啊，或者是他们的这个规则是有违的，但是呢，他也没办法，就是因为这种强制性的。
And the superiors cannot do anything about them, although it is then going against of their morality as well as the willingness of the superiors. However, since they've already found the loopholes, then they cannot do anything about it. It is only because they have no sense of shame. According to the standards for being a good pupil and child, it says that using force to make people submit doesn't make their hearts submit. Using reasons to make people submit, then only there's no words of discontent. I think it really depends on if they're reasonable people. If they're not reasonable people, it doesn't matter how much reasonable arguments you make to them, they won't listen. And in such a way, I think you should just beat them with the sticks. Maybe they'll listen. Maybe they'll listen then. In Tibetan saying, we say that to quote the correct teachings from the sutra is not as useful as just using sticks to beat them. Because when you beat the people who are not reasonable, they would get really scared right away. And if you were to reason with them with lots of the teachings given by the Buddha, they probably don't feel anything at all because they're not reasonable people. I think it is also based on people's different karmic connections. What are you laughing at?
人当中有时候跟人很多接触的时候呢，就人有很多不同的人。
When you get in touch with all kinds of people, there are so many different kinds of value systems and different kinds of views. Although the majority of people have this very similar view, but there are people who have very odd views, very different value systems. Sometimes it's probably because of their channels and their channels and the energy is very different within everyone. But there are people who are rather very different than the others and have very different kinds of value system. Just as you could see the other person's, you recognize the other person's face, but you don't know what they're thinking of.
包括这个发心的时候也好，或者是就刚开始
people
的时候
during
大家
their
都还是这个喝的浓，然后过一段时间的
service
时候
and
呢
providing their
就
service
也
to
发
the
现
sangha.
了
Maybe at the
很
beginning
多都是
they would get along with
互动的
others,
主要
but
原因的话
slowly
呢，
with
有些是
time
可能是
they
文
don't
化
get
有
along
些
with
是家
others
庭
at
的
all.
也家庭
Sometimes
化
it's
的，有
because
些
of the
牵扯
difference
的
of
细节
culture,
东西的。
sometimes
我
it's
觉得
because
牵
of
扯
the
的细节
value,
东西
because
最
of
主
the
要的
habitual patterns.
就因
And
为
to me,
因
I
为细
really
节
feel
不同
that
的
the
话呢，就
habitual
这个
patterns,
就
the kind
就
of
很
habitual
难
karmas
在一起，
differences
哪怕
really
是
caused
短
the
短的时间
major
当中，就
difference
吃一顿
in
饭也
other
是很难
people's
很难这个就关注，就是有这种情
actions,
况。那
which
刚
could
才
create
讲的是什么呢
disharmony.
就是说，讲偏了，对吧？
I think I went
然后就觉
astray.
得我怎么会去呢？就是有时候
How can
有
I
时候
get
开
back
车
to
的
the
时候就是
content?
开到很远的地方去
Just
了，
as a
然后回
person
去
who
的时候
would
都不知
drive
路
a
不知道
far
路
away
这样
place
的。
and doesn't know the
当
way
然，我
back.
这个说的意思呢，就是说这个刚才这个以理服人还是
So
以
what
事服
I
人呢？
was trying
实
to
际上
say
是以理
is
服人
that
是很好
what
的，
we should
但是以
do
理服人
is
的时候
we
呢，
should
有特
try
别敏感
to
的众生，就是特别严厉的众生的话呢，以理服人是
reason
很
with
难的，因为
people.
大家的这种共同的这个力呢，就是对他面前来讲是
But
这是不配
sometimes
的，知道吧？
reasons
对，
do
这样的
not
话呢，
work
就
because
就很难去
however
服
you
人，
try
就
to
没
be
没办法。
reasonable,
所以
the
说，
other
有
person
些
may
人的
take
话
it
呢，
as
也会有这种
unreasonable.
这个存在的。那么这样的话呢，就是这个如果以这样用这个争执，或者是用这样的高压下，就是让他这个。
And over here, what it says is that if you were to use a great
那么
pressure
道之引导这个气
to
质
force
引
people to listen to you,
因
then
此切割
it won't help.
这个如果是我
And
们
then
用
it
这个
says
道
that
德来就是对
using
他
reason
进行
to,
这个灌教
and then
或
it
者
says
进行教
that
导。然后
if
这样的
you
话
were
呢，就是那
to
么还有用这个逆就是用逆来就是进行这个欺人。那这样的话呢，
if you guide
一
them
边呢
with
就是他
is
逆方一方面的话呢，他有这个
exemplary
羞耻
virtue
他就不
and
会
keep them
就乱
in
来
line
他
with the
是
practice
有
of
忏悔心
rights,
的。另一方面
they
的话
will
呢，
have
就
a
是他
sense
有
of
这个
shame
切割
and
就是
will
他
know
这个切
to
割的话呢，
reform
就是接
themselves, will correct
接受为
themselves
这个
automatically.
或者呢，就是他就懂得了那种这个规格规范，就是他的这个规矩啊。
They would know
他一
what the
方面的
rules
话呢，就是
are.
因为我们这个古人的话呢，可能是大家都
I
特别
think
像
for
就是特
people
别
in the
有
past,
有
they
这个
probably
仁
are
爱的
very
心。如
reasonable,
果
they're
用
very
道德来讲，他
benevolent.
用
And
逆来
if
就是
you
讲
were
因
to
为在
give
那一段
them
时间当中呢，就是道德和这个利益的话呢，
reasons
就
that
特别
is
就是
based
大家
on
都是特别
virtue and that is
把它当做
based
一个
on
特别
rights,
好的这个事情。
then
如
people
果用
would
这样来就是这样的话
would
呢，那一
take
方
it
面就是
into
人人
their
都会
hearts,
像
and
忏悔心，人
in
人都
such
讲
a
这个
way,
规矩性
people
规
would
矩
take
就是这样
that
的话呢，
as
就不会
the
乱来。当
guidelines
然，这
for
个
their
呢，
life,
可能要
and no one
结合
would
起来。就是
create
现在的这个社
disharmony.
会来讲呢，完全是降逆和降道德的话呢，大多数
But
的
in
人
our
都
modern society, I think it
所以
would
我
be
们
rather
经常说
a
的
bit
就是我们
difficult
可能
to
规
ask
则和这个
everyone
人性
to
和道德
abide
严格
the
结合起
guideline.
来。这样
Therefore,
也
the
是
best way
很
to
好
rule
否则的话呢
is
你
to
没有
use
没有
both
任何道德，完全
regulation
是以一种
and
这个
the
法律来
virtue.
做的话呢，就是
So
这也是
in
有
this
点
way,
困难。有些人说啊，这个
people
西方的这个
will
法治化的
be
国家也是
people
很好
will
当然
be
这个有法治化的国
under the
国家呢，
regulation
它完
as
全
well
是以
as
法来衡
their
量的时候，有这
their
个不
sense
会
of
参与这个人的
shame
这种性
and
质
a
直接
sense
以
of
法
what's
来
right and wrong.
惩罚也好
Many people
决
would
策
say
也好
that
就
in the
这样
West,
但
the
有些西方国家的话呢，
regulation
这个法
system
呢
is
天生的规律
perfect, and they would carry out the law completely and in such a way. It is the best to keep this society regulated. But let's look at the Western society. In some countries nowadays, the rich and poor has such a great gap. The rich could have the money to hire really good lawyer, but the poor cannot. And then the rich has a much better chance to win in a law court. And because of the lawyer's eloquence, they probably could get out of a murder case for the rich. On top of that, there are the ones where the judge would then work with the jail system as well as the lawyer system, and then the lawyers, and then they would then come to a consensus for their own benefit. Especially, I understood that in some countries that they have a quota to have a certain number of inmates in their prisons. So they would work for such kind of benefits and probably would put innocent people into jail. So I think if you were to only work with the system, if you were to only abide in guidelines, there could be loopholes. However, you should really conjoin to both of the guideline as well as the virtue together, so that you should build the virtue in people's heart so that they know what is right and wrong. In such a way, you're building a perfect system in modern society. It is important to have guidelines to make a community work. But on top of that, you should also have benevolence or have virtue. I remembered an empire from the Chinese history, from the Song Dynasty. During his time, during that time, his country often fight with the neighboring country. And one of the famous person at that time is Yue Fei, and my Chinese teacher at that time really liked to tell the story of Yue Fei. I often felt that his previous life was Yue Fei, and Yue Fei was a great warrior at that time, a soldier. And then he often would talk very enthusiastically about the stories of Yue Fei. He would then sit on the teaching desk, just like he was sitting on the Dharma throne, and give us and repeat the stories of Yue Fei. So during that time, the two countries were fighting for 40 years, but after this Song emperor took reign over that country for a long period of time, they didn't have any warfare at all between these two neighboring countries. Lots of small stories as well, personal stories of this emperor. It was said that during a walk, this emperor the emperor went on a walk, and his attendants was following him. He kept on looking back on the way, and after he came back to his palace, he said that I'm really thirsty. Can you please give me some water? And at that time, then his consort said that, well, you're our emperor. How could you not drink any water on the way of your walk? He said that I kept on looking back, but no one brought water, so I thought it is probably the best not to bring it up. Otherwise, my attendants would get punished by their supervisors. So that's a very small and very detailed story that reflects back on the personality of this emperor. And another story goes that once he was eating, there was this grain of sand within his rice. And he spit this sand out very secretively and said that don't tell anyone. Otherwise, if you were to say that in my rice there's this grain of sand, the cook would get decapitated as a punishment. because during the feudal time, during the feudal times, this kind of punishments were quite strict. But as an emperor, he then used his benevolence to magnetize his people and his country. So during his period of time, it was quite successful as well as harmonious. And these kind of stories really shows the importance of virtue. And in our society, we need really both guidelines as well as virtue. We need strict guideline, very immaculate guideline. At the same time, we need a virtue. I remembered in a monastery, the management team said that they set this regulation that if people get in fights with one another, and if blood were shed, then they had to be expelled from a monastery. And then the manager himself once accidentally hit someone, and that person bled. And he couldn't argue with the guideline. Therefore, they had to then come up with a beta version of the previous guideline. Because I think whenever such kind of guideline falls on yourself, then it is completely different. In Tibetan, what we say is that the pain on other people is just like the fire sparks on your clothing. But if you were to carry such kind of pain yourself, it would be like to have fire on your own skin. So some kind of guidelines, some kind of laws, regulations. While making all of those, if you don't have any contemplation or reflection upon yourself, and simply want to make those regulations for others, then maybe you will suffer for the consequence of having to carry or to apply to those guidelines yourself. And then the next one. The next one is book 2.4, that is the autobiography of Confucius. I've quoted this previously. I think this teaching is rather very meaningful to us. Within this teaching, it has only 38 Chinese characters. But I think this 38 characters really is the autobiography, the entire autobiography of Confucius. He lived till the age of 72, and this 38 Chinese characters shows his entire life. Someone summarized Aristotle's life as that I was born, I worked, and I died. And now is the biography of Aristotle. Therefore, we can look at the autobiography of Confucius that is summarized in this simple 38 Chinese characters. So Confucius said, at 15, I started to pursue learning. There are people who say that it's okay to pursue learning at the age of 15, because especially nowadays at the age of 15, the children are still in school, isn't it? But Confucius lived in a rather different kind of environment and family. As early as the age of 15, Confucius already developed enthusiasm as well as curiosity of knowledge. So from this autobiography, we can see that Confucius has vast knowledge and curiosity towards different aspects of life and society and lifestyle and all kinds of knowledge. The other day at the school that I built, I told all the children, all the students over there, I said that now you're already at middle school. If you don't have any long-term goal, life goal, if you only listen to your teacher's advice to apply to certain schools or go or apply certain kind of work according to your parents' will, then you really don't have any kind of personal ideals, personal goals. When I talked to the principal, I said that they're already 17 or 18 years old. What is the goals of your students? And then the principal said that the saddest thing at this time is that I think my students don't really have any life goals. Back at the time when I was herding yaks, when I was 15 years old, I was herding yaks, and my life goal was that I really want to be the best herder, just as my neighbor. But I think for the children nowadays, it is best to set a life goal for themselves. Either you want to be a doctor, an artist, and any kind of profession, or anyone you want to be. If you want to be be in public service or be a teacher and so on, you should be able to do that. You should have such kind of freedom at this time in this era. But at that time, Confucius, when he set his life goal at the age of 15, it was quite rare. So he had this life goal of searching for the learning, and then he set for his goal for searching for the rights and wisdom and that, and the goal of learning was set at the age of 15. He didn't say anything about the age 20. At first, when I read this of Confucius, I thought to myself why he stated at the age of 15, and then it goes directly to the age of 30, but age 20-ish was never really mentioned. And then he said, at the age of 30, I found my balance through the rights. Over here, it means that his wisdom is no longer retrogressed. He already developed a certainty in his value of life, in his value in his personal value. Just as how the Chinese parents would say that you're already 30. And how could you not be married yet? You should have a family yourself. Just as Confucius said that he had already found his home. But in fact, what Confucius said is not to build a home. He said that he need to develop a certainty in his view. So at the age of 40, I think around that time, maybe he was already quite stable in his family life as well as his social life. And what happens to people nowadays is that people would see the things that they don't like, and then they would generate anger and for the things they like to happen in their life, they would have grasping. But at the age of 40, as it is stated by Confucius, he said that he is free from doubts about himself, and he is free from doubts from the phenomena. So his view was already very much certain without any doubts. He is no longer his emotion is no longer mastered by the external phenomena. He's no longer happy or sad based on what happens around him or with him. When I read lots of commentaries of the previous teachers, I think they really just taught from their personal perspective. Therefore, I'm just teaching from my perspective as well. After 10 years, at the age of 50, he understood that heaven intended me to do. What heaven intended me to do, just as he already knew his predictions, so he's predicted fate, so to speak. I think after reaching the age of 50, I think the value of life, the goal of life is already very much certain. You can gain certainty in all of those, and you can probably have a more understanding of what you need to do. I think at that time the people would understand the cause and the conditions and understand about the phenomena and have a personal experience and develop an understanding of the society. I think at the age of 50, Confucius developed such kind of understanding and certainty of life, of this rule of the universe. But I think for the practitioners, you've already gained the understanding of law of karma, and you understand the nature of happiness and suffering. Therefore, for the practitioners, I think you don't need to reach the age of 50 to understand that. And then it says that at age of 60, Confucius was attuned to what he heard. Some commentaries said that Confucius didn't have a good hearing before the age of 60. But I think that's not true, because at the age of 60, people with good hearing would lose their capacity of hearing. Therefore, I think what it means here is that Confucius was able to accept all different kinds of opinions, all different kinds of feedbacks. And after reaching the age of 60, you've heard a lot of things. You've already seen a lot of things. And then you are quite at ease with whatever happens. Whatever happens, you'll be able to accept it quite easily. And you attain such a kind of realization or such a kind of state of mind. I see lots of people at the age of 60, they appear to have some kind of realization. Unlike when people are at the age of 20 or 30, in their 20s or 30s, they have lots of fixation towards what they predicted and have lots of fixation towards what they love and what they hate. And after reaching the age of 60, unless they encounter a live tiger on the way, I think lots of their actions are very similar of those great masters, you could say. I'm quite I really agree how Confucius divide a person's stage of life and by the different kind of ages. what I see is that, in fact, only in Japan that the majority of men would commit suicide at the age of 50, between the age of 50 and 60. But other than the country of Japan, in the other countries, the majority of people who commit suicide is during the younger age. I think Japan has a rather different social system and a different rule for society. But generally speaking, the great number of people who are aged around the age of 50 and 60, they are quite at ease. They're very comfortable with themselves and their value system. Nowadays, I have to say, as Buddhists, as Buddhist practitioners, I think there's a very small number of practitioners who would commit suicide. I'm not saying that there's none. I'm not saying there's absolute zero, but at least people of Buddhist practitioners, the Buddhist practitioners have more of an understanding of cause and condition, have understanding of law of karma, and they are at ease with who they are. At the age of 50, you no longer have lots of requirement for the life. They're very inclusive. And when you get in touch with the people who are around the age of 60, majority of them are very easygoing, unless there's a very small number of people who are not easy to get along with. And then at the age of 60, Confucius followed what his heart desired without overstepping the line. Well, of course, this is not an all-pervasive general stage of the mind at the age of 70. Let's look at President Trump. He's rather a bit different than the description over here. Over here, Confucius said that at the age of 70, he already gained a different understanding of all the phenomena in this world, and they can be at ease. And they won't step over the line very comfortably. But it's hard to say, because with the modern medicine, people could live for a longer period of time. As it is stated over here, before the age of 40, Confucius invested his time in gaining certainty in the knowledge and acquiring knowledge. But at the age of 50, he then gained lots of spiritual insights, and that kind of spiritual insights was not really shared with the majority of his disciples. But everyone's commentary is very different, and understanding and perspective is very different too. But at least I think, and I hope, those of you who are listening to this class, you should have a certain analysis based on the different time period of your life. I look at how you are between the age of 15 and 30, and between 30 and 40, and 40 and 50, and so on. I think a number of Buddhists would say that I had lots of graspings when I was young. I had lots of confusions when I was young. And other people would say that I was very certain of where I was going. I had lots of certainty when I was younger, but now I don't. I should really investigate why that is. Some of you are probably older than Confucius, and some of you probably are younger. But I think you should make this kind of generalization, or make this kind of categorization of your own life, to look over your own life sometimes I would ask you of how your categorizations of your previous life was and how your summary was. Sometimes I would use the opportunities to ask you. If you can only answer by saying that I used this 10 years to, and that I changed my jobs for 10 times, I think this also shows your mentality. Simply categorize your time is not really useful. What's useful is to make summarization, to look at your own life, your mentality during that period of time, and have a certain kind of goal for your future. I think this is quite important for Buddhists. In your future propagation of the Dharma, in any kinds of your aspiration, all of these are worth your time to make summarization. And we'll stop here today.
Sonam dei tanche zebanya tonani behe jana panshe jirga namji
balam jibaya jabim zulin doa jolvara shon diba sarjenam shobjayam jitna dana gam jigim chad barajar Kayam Abshin de Daram Nerabaram, some those songs of Bereson Gibson. Shobja Gale, Janam Janela Ba, de Dada Chereons, the Barajir. Shanchibushan, one John Shagadavada, Sanji, Tijer of the conversation. Shobji Zimjana Ganam and Janela Ba, de Dada Namela de Varajir. Doa Ganje, Chuji, Donamana, Namberum Jerjarewa, the Peresho. Shanchibus Jurba, Dana, Dabshira Jam, Doa Ganda, Jiwa, Temperature. Terabagandam Champo Jivana, Tata Dana Raptam Jomversho, Jaravaganji Jisum, Lobjiradam, Zombo, Shirabayons of Shilijan, Salatamam Jurba, 10 million Tagaba, Tata Manyam Jumila Juperes. Lobjanankala, Chadamama, Tatamaya, Kanamda, Doa Ganji, Janam Chazamber, Tamjada Katab, Daki Chuftanando, Dejan Paralasan Arabsana, Dem, Shanchibasim, Namiam Jilmajir, Deba, Unamajapar Jirpata, Deta Male, also Shanvaresho, Litam Yuram of the Jili, Namalim, to the Jom Jitin and Doa, and Zayan. Chatara Paramochi, Machakbavshan, and Yardanam Karatokpa Metaripshat, Jangam Jundam Shonam Chazambarang, and so the Alarafta Shavarashil, Deva Tagalam, Doa Kam Gorajam, Doa Tamchalana Pamperipshat, Shanchipajarbay, also Zobshirajan, Simjana Dagam Jadam, Dambaramji. Gandam Shubarajir, the game Jadam, Sombaragam Shadaba, de Tagadan, Tagatam, Jobarasho, Litang, Namatan, Simji Jam, Shurba, Tagadam, Olamashita Shell, Dagla Pambaram, Dolba, Jobo, Dagav, Zombo, Shurba, Tumbanam, de Tagadaya, Tagata, Chalaparasho, de Dav, the game, Navaya, Yadamayan. Sardi Jim Gurvim Gumbo Namam Gum Samata the cave Jaravata Mamam Kadapak and the mature Teta Layam Churpa Jachirabja Jaravanam Jetamba Chums and a jam Shanchiva Churpak and then over if she lives on both Churpan and Berev Jawaya Maam Kadapak and the Jalaparavja Tamjatayam Koranam Sunamayashi Taganam Zalani Taptan Shirabatam Zanam Taratan Yundan and Kanji Mazalam Zotur Darchitana Dalanila Janamade Jantarasam Di Machab Sardianam Sardi Wenam Shipala Shanjav Shalabab Shojam of Tavarja Tetramale Tamjala Shosaya Tatsam Chula Dear Zaman Zalanjanaja sardi jamso janam jamso dang karpa jamzuru chuchang rabtam jing sonchi yan laga jamsu de kalaji jalwa kan yan laga nam dagpa roa kan jef samba chef janaya sardi son la tagtam jing parvya tesam shagp jarwa thamcha dagam kurulum sarnam rabta korwai te taga kaya soya mazalala loye tobje dagjang rabtam ji maom karpa thamjilim ji parya kachi chike dagjang ji parya kayam karpa te saman sarte tag kachi chashi jina ji parvshat te samam shagpa maya sange ka te taga kachi chilab dakefta shtagta te taga nafsyo yalala jamara kirpa nam thara tobjim ji kaya te samatak jam kolaba te taga darji tantam ngombara jab te tar malim shagnam thamchadata jarwa tak jangnam kollam ji kaya mabshin ji tin durmana mab shangchiberim berim thangjam korodov korim nyangan di parap tajam tartun gombo kanji tongdav dagamcho kandam nirvi zamchulutun namada kanni goye thagpa tobda ta kanda yondan abshurpa tun namada chapa shamba taqtub kanni gimim sunnam tobda tam chapa me par kirpa yashi tab sherava thap tam tam zana tobda ke shanchab tun namayan taqad parvshat lije tun namayan sa taqab shir janyo mo tun nam kandam jumbarvshat dache tun nam tun milarav shil jan Zambo shirba to nav zamparja Janam jamso number tagp shirja Simchana jamso tagna number jurum Chunama jamso raptam tom shirja Yashi jamso rapta togparvshat Shupa jamso number tagp shirja Molama jamso yonsa zogparvshat Sardi jamso raptam shub shirja Karpa jamsur mcho cha parvja kaya te sam shagpa jarva yab shanchib shurpa mollam shitaganam zangbo shurpi shanchib sarji ne te kanam dagi malib zong parvja jarva kanje ticha thawo pa kanga mana Yapip shirar gewan da taga thamcha darabtavgo litang atang yirjanam taga jam shurbanam taga janam yon taga ba ngoab zangbum ki bancham dawa tem darab taga jang te tang song parasho kanne gi wab zangbu chapul shiram jam khulajin molam jar parabja mawam karpa kandam chobar te yeshawa malib zog parabja Shurpa tagna sayud majar ji yundan nam jang sab zong me parasho Shurpa zamele pala ne ne jang te tagam sharpa tham jalam salvarabya Nam kim tharthi kirpa chatsam bar simchan malim thayang tip janante chatsamale tagam nyamam thajrabab dakam olam thayang te sammo Kayam shukji jangnam thai parim chinam janti jalwa nam la phal hatang mayab deva chognam jang janga danyar karpara baravavi Jarbunda thunim shangchabam chok jizuram oshang lanchi zamyam talpap tilpana so naman tambam chokdam dam jararo kangi zamshid mulam databi ten ngan son tham chaba baram jar ten chokpo ngan bar bayan nawam thai te yang dim yaram thong te taganyar param yar devaram so machim dar yang te tagalag para on kandab zampo te yang chandavar te tagaram boramatta dev janam jar Samilanga potaka dipana man kanga mashi wangi si patak Dave Zambo should band of Jadanam near the Mali on sub shangwaram yer Yeshi dana zitam sanamata ritang katawanam dadam baram yer the tamer tagamambuti mataban jitin sambo kanam chilparam yer Shanchibisha wan jong the dim yirim do soni sem janam ham sharp ten dirty Shanchibis Jim Korlor up the Kor, the Namade Dam Jipa Tam Jalaptal. Kayang of Zambo should band them be Logna ya de number member sanjim chenam sanchaban chola somnya mapshe de chi jam khoda khwa u chitrim chimba ta kan de zambo te an division de de ta gan ji ji sab da lo shir ge ban da ta tham che de rab da bungo ti sama shag bu jarwa tham che de ji ngo kan lam chog da ngab ba de da ge wa sa ban da kan jam zambo cho shir rab da ngor Dagnam Chevim Dipshira Jirpana, Japa Tamjata Dagnam Sam Salati, Monsamana Wam Taim Tim Tony, Deva Janje Jantarabdumdu, Tirsoni Mulama Datajan, Tamchidamali, Montan Jervarasho, Tetamali, Dagi, also of Gam, Jitin and Chita the Simchanam Hamburg, Jalava Jam Koravzan Gavatir, Pamo, Tambash and Tanzili, now I'm Tayi, Jeremy, Monsamanda. Longtan bayam daki ter tobisho ter nab daki longtan rab tavanim to the pama bob shevan jai lo ye to chip shoja nam sayan sim jana nam la pamba ma bob je zambob jat ba mulaman tombaya giwa chong zalav daki chap sagapa tenan drova mulam giwa nam kachi chiki tham chadam jurvarsho Kayam Zambob Sherbandam Nobim Sunaman Tai Damba Kanto de Doa de Ngalam Chewarab Shawanam or the Wagamil Panira Batopersho Molam Gelbun the Tagam Chakasum Tai Dua Kanla Pam Shirijan Kandab Zambob Jambob Zantravati Nansoni Namamale Stover Sanjir Garsamam Nib Shanabadam Junidamam Gerabdim Bub Shanabadam Dimdanam of Shadam Zambush and the Baji Chataram Molamam Japarasho Taniata Panzanajaya Awam Budana so high Bami the Durji Danjamaji Little Lamber, Manto, London, Ripper, what Jim, Jimmy, the Panzo, Jabla, Sorovan, they take the Gombush and the Banyan Laji, Tia the Sheet, them deeper, Shenji, alone, Sorta, Tondan, Meran, Salanga, Millet, and Kim, Zipa, Bamjova, Sasama, Jarva, Jamsum, Chanage, Gela, Shinchin, and Papa, she bags on the Milletams, Ronova, Yam Tagam, Dorotapa, Yashi, now I'm chopped of Jams of Jean Hamodi, Punyam. Don't keep Jips and the Mala Saravan. That same I'm Jared Durji, she served and the Chanim Zabi, Georgian Corlo, Chavinim, Jonathan, Tamsi, my Tamdo Pandi, Ranta, Jonjaj, Javni, Jarava, Tif Jadazam, Motam, Tamdan, Tamdron, Jam to an Intir, the Bayomil, Laxama, Dimber, Rimon. The Tunandrip games and Barajarji, Hapa, some done, Naramim, Zambaya, and Hippos. Tatam Shandabum Shavi Tanantivar Taftanam Shamdara Jipa Trashi Show Bazara Gara Palma Sada
尊贵的上师仁波切，尊敬的堪布堪姆以及现场的诸位道友，大家晚上好。转眼间，拉荣已进入深秋，四季向来是时光留不住的，所以需要通过温故知新，才能在流光中有一种珍惜和唤醒。讲考正是这样一种温故而知新的过程。下面就有请上师仁波切抽取今晚的2位。